So yet another Democrat has come out and said that they will vote against the filibuster and in favor of Gorsuch. It's Joe Donnelly, Democrat of Indiana. These are the blue dog Democrats, so-called centrists or moderates that they're called. They're no such thing. They are in fact conservative and largely corporatist. And every once in a while on a social issue, they will not be barbarians and hence they are considered moderates. No, they almost always go with a pro-corporate position. Gorsuch is a monstrously pro-corporate judge and perhaps soon justice. And I say monstrously because he ruled in cases where literally someone's life was on the line. And he said, well, no, if they didn't listen to the corporation that told them to sit there and die, well, then they should lose their case. That's a literal decision. Gorsuch was the only guy out of all the justices, all the judges in the country that looked at it that ruled in that direction. So nonetheless, Joe Donnelly going, yay, that's my guy. Now, first I want to show you what Joe Donnelly said back in the days when the Democrats had introduced Merrick Garland. Remember, there was about a year left in Obama's term, and the Republicans said, no, we don't care who he is. We're never, ever, ever going to give him a hearing. And Donnelly pretended to be upset about that at the time. Let's watch.
What do you say to those people who say that President Obama should let the next president do so?
Well, the next president can do that when we have a next president.
Right.
And if there's a Supreme Court opening then. We have almost a year left in President Obama's term. Our job is to review that person, and if we don't find that person acceptable, turn them down. But if we do, to vote yes. We don't have the option to just stick it in a drawer for the next year and pretend it's not there. Look, you do your job when the opportunity comes up, when you have to do your job. And that's right now. Next year, when there's a new president and that president nominates somebody, I'll vote yes or no on that person as well. But we have almost a year to go in President Obama's term. You simply don't walk away and stop doing your work.
Well, they did. And you know what Joe Donnelly did about it at the time? Not a damn thing. The Republicans for a year blocked Merrick Garland, and Joe Donnelly barely put up a fight. Oh, golly gee, you gotta do your job. Well, you didn't. So is he gonna fight back at all now that the Republicans are in charge? The answer is, of course, hell no. Huffington Post says the moderate Democratic senator, again, it drives me crazy when they call him moderate, anyway, said he was, quote, deeply disappointed how Republicans refused to consider Merrick Garland, President Barack Obama's nominee to the high court, but that as a senator, he could, quote, only vote on the nominee that comes to the Senate floor. No, you could do many different things. If you were that disappointed, you could say, hey, you know what? You guys didn't let our guy get a hearing, so I'm gonna vote to block your nominee. And what I call the Garland rule should be very simple, very easy to argue. I don't know why the Democrats aren't doing it. We will at a minimum block Gorsuch, your nominee, for as long as you block the Garland nomination. So for 1 year, we will do nothing about it. We will filibuster it, and all Democrats should be united on that. A year later, we'll have hearings and we'll have a conversation about it. But until then, filibuster. No, Joe Donnelly doesn't do that. As usual with the corporate Democrats, he bows his head meekly and says, oh, I was outraged at what happened before, but I'll give the Republicans everything they want anyway. Typical corporate Democrat move. Donnelly also said, according to Huffington Post, that he supported retaining a 60-vote threshold for Supreme Court nominees. In other words, I don't want the Republicans to take away the filibuster. Well, Joe, what are you ever going to use it for? Gorsuch is to the right of Antonin Scalia. Are you ever going to use the filibuster? If you don't use it for Gorsuch, especially after the injustice of what happened with Garland, that means, Joe, I got news for you, you're never going to use it. So there's no point in having it in your back pocket if you're never going to unleash it. And stop kidding yourself. You're never going to oppose the Republicans in a real way. Your job is to be weak. They call them moderate. No, they're feckless and weak Democrats, these guys. Now, the rest of the Democratic Party, amazingly, managed to put together a filibuster despite these guys selling them out. But they think that this is going to help them in Indiana. And I bet you, look, realpolitik, the Democratic leadership probably talked this through and said, hey, we still have 41 senators that could block Gorsuch through a filibuster until the Republicans take it away. So we could release these so-called centrist Democrats in states that voted for Trump to go vote with the Republicans so they don't lose their elections. Voting with the Republicans doesn't prevent losing to Republicans, it prevents victory. Because Joe Donnelly and Manchin and Heitkamp, what they're sending, the message that they're sending to their voters at home is, the Republicans are right, I'm wrong, so vote for me. Why would they vote for a Democrat if you just told them the Democrats are wrong and the Republicans are right? Especially on an issue that you could win. If you ran against Gorsuch as a big business candidate, the American people, yes, including in Indiana, hate big business. It polls at 15%. It polls lower than the media. It polls even lower than politicians like you, but you're not gonna run that campaign because all your donors are big business. These Democrats disgust me. So we ask you guys, hey, should the Democrats take a stand on this? tytnetwork.com/stand to vote in that poll. Now we know what the results are gonna be. This is not, of course, not a scientific poll. The reason that we did it is because we wanna show Democrats, hey, a progressive audience is definitely interested in you guys taking a stand and not cowering. Turns out cowering is not good for politics, and you're gonna depress your own base. They're not gonna show up to vote for you. That's why these blue dog Democrats almost never win re-election. Guess what the results of that poll are so far? 94-6. So if you're looking for Indiana Democrats who are gonna stand with you, Joe Donnelly, you got all 6% of them. The other 94% going, no, you should have shown strength and you should have actually fought for us, which Joe Donnelly, as usual, has now decided he's not going to do. He's going to lay down instead. And finally, there's one other petition in this case that I want to bring your attention to. It's the National Nurses Union, Just Democrats, brand new Congress, real progressive groups saying we must stop Trump from taking over the Supreme Court. Go sign that petition, show the strength of the progressive movement. That's at nogorsuch.org, nogorsuch.org. Go do that today. All right, Joe Donnelly, when you run as Republican light in Indiana next time around, well, first of all, you're gonna lose in the primary, and very likely it's going to be someone named a Justice Democrat that beats you. But if you can somehow survive that, which I very, very much doubt, then you're gonna lose to a Republican who's gonna make the very simple case. He thinks Republicans are awesome, and I'm a Republican. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. tytnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now, tytnetwork.com/join.